In aerobic training, your body also has to make adaptations to improve your stamina. The exercises will be endurance, where you'll try to do long-distance sports and fatigue slower. For example, a marathon. When training for these types of sports, your body will be able to use oxygen more efficiently. This means it will decrease your VO2 max and the moderate intensity you're working at. This could be due to adaptations in your respiratory system and cardiovascular system. As aerobic exercise such as a marathon can last up to 5 hours, it will take a while for your body to adapt to what you want it to do when you are training for it. This could mean you start training 2 to 3 months before the actual marathon. If you do something like a marathon without training, it can have fatal effects on your body, such as heart attacks. This is because your body wouldn't have been used to such a high demand of oxygen and production of carbon dioxide. If you train and gradually run a longer distance, then your body can realise that it needs to meet the demand of oxygen, meaning the VO2 will be increased. Therefore, this shows the importance of anaerobic training on your health. An adaptation that your body makes due to aerobic exercise and the training is your cardiovascular system. When you are training, your heart will increase in size. This is very beneficial as it will increase your stroke volume. This means that more blood will be able to be pumped up the heart, which means more oxygen. And as there is a higher volume, there will be a lower blood pressure. A higher stroke volume also means higher cardiac output, and this is beneficial for athletes as a higher cardiac output means a higher amount of volume being pumped out of the heart. Cardiac hypertrophy is where the heart gains thickness and size, and this happens when you are training aerobically. When training for the marathon, you're most likely going to have thicker and stronger hearts, have a thicker and stronger heart ready for the exercise so that the body can meet the demands of what is needed. In cardiac hypertrophy, it is mainly the left ventricle that gains in thickness and size. This then means that as the heart is bigger, the heart rate decreases every time it beats, because every time it does beat, more blood will be ejected from the heart. Training also causes capillarization. This is where there is an increase in capillaries in the muscle fibers, meaning there will be more gases being exchanged as oxygen diffuses into the muscles through the capillaries. So if there is more capillaries, then more oxygen can enter the muscles, meaning that they will have more energy for their run for a longer period of time. Carbon dioxide is also released out of the muscles through diffusion as well. Athletes that train also have more red blood cells than a non-trained person. This is called hematocrit. More red blood cells can deliver more oxygen to the muscles, which once again gives energy to the muscles. There are some diseases in your cardiovascular system that could be fatal without staying healthy. One is a heart attack, when your blood vessels get clogged up with thick blood and stops the cycle. This can stop you from breathing and cause death. This is why your blood pressure should be around 120 to 80 systolic and diastolic, where it is not too thick to clog up. In the table at the bottom, it shows the heart rate, stroke volume, and cardiac output of the average person and a trained athlete, which is in red. As you can see, at moderate exercise, the stroke volume is a lot higher as a trained athlete. This is due to larger and thicker heart that the body has to be adapted to. Also, the heart rate as an athlete is a lot lower than the average person because the high amount of blood is being pumped out of the heart each beat. And in the graph above, it shows the heart rate of a student in a steady state exercise. The student has not done any training and his heart rate is around 65 beats per minute, but the average is around 70 beats per minute. If this student trained, their heart rate would be lower at around probably 55 beats per minute. Therefore, a different graph would show that the heart rate would be increasing but at lower beats per minute. At the end, the student may end up with 75 beats per minute if trained. As a result, in a marathon, if the runner has a higher stroke volume, lower heart rate and lower blood pressure due to training, they will perform a lot better than they would if they did not train. Another body system would be the respiratory system. This system is one of the most essential systems that needs to adapt when training for an aerobic sport such as a marathon. Firstly, the ventilation rate would have been increased. Athletes' ventilation go up 50%, where the average is around 75 litres per minute. So they would have about 150 litres per minute. To calculate this, you would times the breathing rate by the tidal volume. When training, your breathing rate would decrease. This is because of the oxygen being breathed in would be used more efficiently and for being delivered to the muscles, which means less oxygen will be needed to be inhaled. Then there is an increase in lung volume. This is where your vital capacity and residual volume will increase, allowing more oxygen to be stored in the lungs. This is of course very important for athletes, as if they have more oxygen stored in their body, then more will be able to go to the muscles. Also, when training, your respiratory muscles get stronger. These are responsible for your lung capacity when inhaling. They could be external intercostal muscles or diaphragm. So if the muscles have become stronger, then they will contract a higher force, meaning that there will be even more lung volume for gases like oxygen to be stored in. When doing an exercise like a marathon, you will have an oxygen deficit. This is the required amount of oxygen needed but not consumed. This is shown in the graph. If someone who did a marathon and trained compared to someone who didn't train, would have less of an oxygen deficit, as they should be able to inhale more oxygen and use it more efficiently. During recovery, there is EPOC. This is an excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. This is where when you recover, your body still requires oxygen. This is so the body can gradually go back to normal instead of straight away. So when a trained athlete goes for EPOC, they won't need to require as much oxygen, as they would not have been out of breath as someone who did not train for the marathon. So on the graph, the VO2 required would be lower during recovery. As a trained marathon runner, having this type of recovery can benefit in a way that they won't feel as bad after the run or at a point where they are unable to move. The respiratory system adaptation is crucial for aerobic athletes, as the extra oxygen consumption due to increased lung volume is hugely important. As well as anaerobic, the neuromuscular system has to make adaptations for aerobic exercise as well. In muscles, we have the mitochondria. This is where the energy is stored in the muscle cells. When training, there becomes more mitochondria. This is because when the muscle grows, there are more muscles in the muscle. There are more muscle cells, and in the muscle cells there is mitochondria. And if there is more mitochondria, there will be more ATP available to be used, which is energy. This helps marathon runners out, as it will sustain more energy throughout the run. Furthermore, if the muscles grow, then there will be a higher capacity of oxygen stored in them. The place where it is stored is the myoglobin. There will be an increase in this, meaning more oxygen can be stored in the muscle and be used for the aerobic system. There will be an increase in muscle fibers, including the slow oxidative and fast oxidative glycolytic fibers. These contain loads and loads of mitochondria myoglobin, which gives the more energy and oxygen. The image shown is a muscle cell. Here you can see a mitochondria in the cell. One of them is very small compared to the muscle cell, which means there is not much energy will be stored in them. So if the muscle grows, then there will become more mitochondria. More energy can be stored rather than wasted. For a marathon runner, this is essential in keeping the energy high throughout the race. So as they train their muscles, they become more dense and will increase the amount of mitochondria and myoglobin. The energy system that gets adapted for the aerobic training is the aerobic system. This system involves the glycolytic system but carries on when there is oxygen present. It will carry on from the glycolytic system and start the prep steps where different substances change and ATP gets produced. Then there is the Krebs cycle, and then following there is the electron transport chain, which converts 34 ATP. This process is broken down by enzymes. Therefore, during training, this system adapts by there being an increase in aerobic enzymes, which means the process will be happening a lot quicker and more ATP will be produced. A huge advantage of the aerobic system is that it does not produce lactic acid as the glycolytic system does. Lactic acid is the key of fatigue, as a build-up of it can stop the enzymes from working efficiently and the system may not be effective. The graph shows the three energy systems and how much they are used in exercise such as a marathon. The ATP system only lasts around 10 seconds but uses 100% of the energy because that's the quickest system created. But then they stop and they run out of PC after that time. The glycolytic system only lasts around 3 minutes because of the amount of lactic acid that gets produced, but when it is being used, it uses around 75% of the energy, while the other is 25% being used by the aerobic system as it's just getting started. As you can see there, the aerobic system is the dominant system after the first few minutes of the exercise because it creates the most ATP and does not produce a lot of lactic acid. It holds around 85% of the total energy with the glycolytic system still partly used. The adaptation of the aerobic enzymes increasing makes the aerobic system work quicker, and as the aerobic system is a lot more comfortable to run with than the ATP-PC system because it is easier with oxygen. For a marathon runner, they would want to be working with the aerobic system the whole time, as this gives them the most energy, as the adaptation of the aerobic enzyme gives that more quicker process. So the marathon runner will have less fatigue problems to deal with and should be able to finish in a quicker time.